Welcome to the NABS podcast. NABS is the support organisation for those working in advertising, marketing and media. I'm your host, Louise Scody. Each week I'll be chatting with someone from our industry to find out how they support themselves and those around them through challenging times as well as the day-to-day. And it's all to help you support your own mental wellness. I can't wait to start chatting. This week our guest is Josh Krichefski. Josh is CEO EMEA and UK at GroupM, where he leads 17,000 people with the mission to make advertising work better for people. He's also president of the IPA, the UK's advertising agency industry body. In this role, Josh has established the People First promise, which asks agencies to prove their commitment to their team's mental health. Josh is very open about his own mental health, which we're going to be talking about today. He is also a married dad of two and, in his own words, a long-suffering Arsenal supporter. Welcome, Josh, to the NABS podcast. What effect is Arsenal currently having on your mental wellness?
It's a good question, actually. Thanks for having me. It's very nice.
You're very welcome.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty positive for my health, I would say, actually, at the moment, being an Arsenal supporter. I mean, obviously, anyone who goes to football matches knows about kind of the ups and downs of emotions that you have during a game. We've had a few of those recently, but I'm just very happy with how our team are playing and how our club is behaving and how our manager is kind of, I don't know, creating a really good vibe in the club this season.
Good. It's nice to have you on a football-based equilibrium to start this chat with. We're really into management at NABS, actually, and I'm not a football fan at all, but I can see that so much of it is about culture creation and how the manager leads from the top down. And I actually wonder whether you've taken any inspiration from that as a football fan in your own work as a manager yourself and also guiding managers across the industry.
I guess I used to love playing sport and being part of a team, and I think modern day managers in football teams, people like Pep Guardiola, people like Mikel Arteta, I'd say probably most of the kind of more progressive managers these days don't really allow, bad behavior and sort of big egos to take over the dressing room. And I think that's probably something that I've definitely taken inspiration from and found myself trying to instill in any team that I manage or lead as much as possible. So I think sometimes you have like really talented individuals who don't always, role model the kinds of behaviors that you want them to. And sometimes you can nip it in the bud and sometimes you can't. And when you can't, you have to make a change. But sometimes as I say, you can, just as long as you make you're very clear about what your expectations are. And so, yeah, I guess that's that. I've taken that as inspiration, probably not at a leadership level more broadly, but definitely with the leadership teams that I lead.
We're going to get on to more about that in a bit. But first of all, before talking about how you're championing mental wellness for others, let's talk a bit about your own mental wellness journey, because you have been really open in the past about challenges you've had to face. So can you talk to us about some of them?
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm careful not to sort of, try and pretend that I've got any kind of severe or serious mental health issues, because I think that would be over-egging it, if I'm really honest with you. But I think I struggle with anxiety a bit and that manifests itself for me with anxiety in the middle of the night. So I struggle with insomnia, and it's totally related to, I mean, almost always related to work. Actually, my dog is ill at the moment, so I did have a bad night's sleep last night because I was worried about him staying over at the vet at the moment, and I'm a bit worried about him. But generally, it's related to work, and I guess whilst I wouldn't say that's necessarily a mental health issue, it definitely affects my mental wellness, as you put it, and something that I think is probably something that many people struggle with. So that's something that I found certain ways of managing it, but not fixing it, if I'm honest. It's something that sort of I live with, really. And yeah, I think it's really important. I talk about it openly, partly because I think it's important to normalize the conversation around it, and to let people see that, it doesn't matter who you are or what you do or what position you're in different companies. you know Everyone struggles with stuff like this, and it's perfectly normal, actually. And it doesn't make you a lesser person or mean that you're less good at the job that you do. um, but and equally, it's not something that helps me do my job better, but it's something that I definitely live with. And um, so I talk about it openly for that reason. I also talk about it openly, if I'm really honest, because I find it quite almost like therapeutic to talk about it. So, I'm not being fully altruistic in talking about it. I sort of benefit from that myself, I suppose, in some ways as well. So I think it's just openness and sharing generally in the world is a good thing, and in the workplaces too.
That is what the NABS podcast is all about. So we're happy to be part of your free therapy service. Does it work like this? You're anxious about something, so you wake up in the middle of the night and then you get more anxious because you're awake.
Yeah, I generally, I generally, what happens is I go to sleep fine, and I wake up in the middle of the night, and I immediately, my brain immediately directs itself to the biggest problem that I've got at that given time, and then I ruminate or try and find solutions, or just panic, and drive myself into even more of an anxiety, state than I was when I first started thinking about it. And it sort of goes round and round in circles. And then I'll do things to break that cycle, like getting up and going and writing myself some notes, um, so that I can sort of say to myself, okay, you've done all you can do right now. Put it to bed, and switch off and try and go back to sleep. Or I'll go downstairs and have a cup of herbal tea or something. Um, yeah, but that's generally what happens. Yeah, I sort of wind myself up in the middle of the night, and rarely do I come up with a solution that's of any kind of value at all. It's always absolute garbage that I come up with. So, but it's a kind of, it's just kind of, it's on repeat. It happens a lot.
And you mentioned some coping strategies. So there's the writing down, there's the getting out of bed and having a cup of tea, chamomile, not caffeinated. Is there
Mm.
anything else that you do? Maybe is there anything else that you do during the day to try and mitigate the effects of a terrible night the night before?
Yeah, I mean, I think um, I say that I do this, like I don't do it enough, but I think meditating is a very, very good thing to do, because what it does is it kind of exercises the brain. It's like an exercising a muscle to do something more naturally, which is to switch off, which is to kind of think of nothing, which is what you're trying to do when you're meditating, really. Just have clarity, just clarity. And so I think the more, I definitely think the more that I meditate, the more I find it more natural to be able to switch off in the middle of the night. But as I say, I don't do it enough. Like, just when you asked me that question, I thought to myself, God, I haven't meditated for ages. Actually, I really need to start doing it again. And then I do things like I get out. Like when I think I personally find working from home not very healthy. So if I am working from home for any given reason, I'll always make sure that I go out in the day at some point, whether that's to go to the gym or to go for a walk. Just taking myself out of my house, I find chills me out a bit,
You like
actually.
the interaction with other people.
A bit of that, but I think also just remembering that there's an outside world and that you're small and you're tiny in it. Um, and there's a whole world happening out there that isn't, whereas when you're in your own head, that is the world.
Yeah.
But that's just your thinking. And so the less thinking, the better, I find.
You've been discussing mental wellness at work for a very long time, and you've been ahead of the curve in that respect. What experiences have you had in the workplace that made you realize how central mental wellness is to our working lives?
Well, I guess because of my own experience, and um, being very fortunate to have coaching to really focus on understanding the relationship between what I've just been talking about, really, kind of think the impact of thinking on your reality and understanding that it's just thought and it's not necessarily everyone's reality. Um, Having had coaching prior to becoming a CEO, before my first CEO job, it really made me sort of feel like I wanted to run a company where the more people with it were enlightened with the best training around how to be mentally well, the better, right? And then I also felt very strongly that, my own experience was that if I was able to switch off from work at some point in the early evening, it helped me with my sleep. So I sort of felt like I really hoped that the people, it was when I was running MediaCom in the UK, the people who work in our company, I want everybody to be able to switch off from work, honestly. So the first thing that I did when I took over the job was to introduce flexible working, and I said, and I don't, with flexible working means you can work the hours you want to work, but with that in mind, if you're someone who wants to, you know, sort of clock off early and then pick up work later on in the day when your kids have gone to bed or something, you can't just assume that your colleagues want to do the same. So I don't want people emailing each other after 7 o'clock at night.
Right.
That was something that that was the first thing that I introduced, and that was just about, to try and create an environment where people could switch off, and as a result, hopefully be more mentally healthy. Um, and then, but it wasn't like that was like, if I'm really honest, it wasn't like I made a strategic decision to focus my whole leadership on kind of mental wellness. It was more around, that's the kind of environment that I want to lead, right?
Right.
And then a few months after that, we ran these sessions where we always brought into external people to come into the business and talk about their own experiences of something interesting. And one of them, we had Johnny and Neil, who came in. I can't remember. It's Johnny Benjamin. I can't remember Neil's surname. Came in and talked about their experiences. It was this thing about suicide. Johnny was going to jump off a bridge, and he met this guy Neil who was crossing over who was at London Bridge, was on his way to work, and he saw Johnny and he thought, "What's he doing?" And so he started talking to him, and he turned out, oh my God, he's going to jump off the bridge, and he talked him off the bridge, and then actually Johnny got arrested, and then they didn't see each other again. And then when Johnny was released and he got better and he was feeling a bit better about it, he decided that he wanted to find this guy Neil who saved him from jumping off a bridge. And they made a TV program about it. Anyway, they came in and they talked about it in the agency, and it was really, and there wasn't a dry eye in the room, and it was really clear, like it's kind of like a bit of a eye opener for me. It was, this is really important for people, this is something that's really key. And so we then started establishing a bit of a program in the agency around mental health, and it's sort of kind of grown from there, really. And it's been a real passion of mine, and something that I feel at that time we were trying to make unique about our agency. Is it's quite a hard-nosed industry, the media industry, and I wanted to kind of soften the culture a bit, even still drive the high performance culture, but soften it a bit. And so that was a sort of differentiator for us at the time. And now, like, as IPA president, I feel like I want the whole industry to be brilliant. I want us to be a kind of trailblazer in terms of how we look after our people. And by the way, there's loads of great work happening in loads of different agencies all over the UK, which is brilliant. And I just want to surface the best stuff and really celebrate it, and make our industry one that people look at from the outside and go, that is an industry where they really know how to take care of their greatest assets.
Yeah. I mean, you said that you didn't approach it as a CEO as a strategic decision necessarily, but it seems that in your tenure as president of the IPA, that is very much a
Yeah.
set strategy and really important to what you're doing. So you've got the people first promise, which is the articulation of that. So can you talk to us a bit about how that's come about and what it looks like, and how we can all get involved with it?
Yeah. I mean, so basically, I've been working for quite a few years with an advisory board of mental health professionals, charities, business leaders who are very good in this space. to try and I was quite keen to really lobby government to introduce a law that encouraged businesses to and supported businesses to put in certain frameworks to support their people. And working with these incredible people, the advisory board's over 20 people. Over time, it sort of evolved and evolved and evolved, and over time, we came up with this thing, which was program, which was based on all the kind of best scientific learnings from what good workplace well-being looks like, and came up with a framework of what we've called empower, support, and prevent. And um, empower is about empowering the individual to really understand their own mental health and to be trained in understanding what mental health is and the difference between various different types of conditions like bipolar or neuroses or psychoses or personality disorder with just a bad day at work, and understanding the difference between those things, really. The second thing, support, is around making sure the companies really put in place proper support services for people who are struggling with serious mental health conditions. And prevent is around making sure that leaders are really purposeful in having cultures in their businesses that aren't toxic and where people feel like they can really be themselves at work, I suppose, and thrive. So we'd established this framework, and I was talking to various different MPs on all sides of the house, honestly, about how we could potentially install something. And it was becoming increasingly clear to me that changing the law is a very difficult thing to do, probably impossible. And honestly, the government weren't particularly interested in mental health. And
How long ago was this? What year was it?
over the last, it was for a couple of years up until the end of 2022.
Right.
That was
So
from
that's really recent.
yeah, up until it was starting from like 2019 to about 22, and then I got asked to be the president of the IPA, and so what I've decided to do is rather than try and mandate something, what I want to do is create something which is really like for want of a better word, it's like a mental health certificate. It's like a certificate that demonstrates that you as a business look after your people. And so what I'm doing is getting our industry and the leaders of our industry to sign up to the People First promise. And what you have to do to sign up to that promise is you have to provide evidence that you do at least one thing under each of those different three category areas: empower, support, and prevent in your business. You have to provide that evidence, apply for the People First Promise badge of honor, and then at the IPA, there's a whole team of people who are going through all of the different applications and deciding whether you've been successful, or if you haven't been successful, what you need to do to be successful. And it's been really, so I only launched it in January this year, and we've already got I think we've got about 50 successful certificates. We've got 30 more applications. We've got still more applications coming in every day. And what I want, and those are the main advertising or media agencies all around the country who've signed up for it. But I want to broaden it out to all media owners and advertising association members, clients as well. It's harder with clients because we deal with the marketing departments of clients rather than necessarily the whole business of a client. But basically what I'd really like to do is broaden it out amongst the creative industries, but really starting with the advertising industry, because that's the industry that I really want to showcase as the trailblazers in this space. And I guess, and sorry, just to explain why I'm asking leaders to do that is it's to make them more accountable to their people. That they, so that if you as a leader go, right, we've got the People First Promise badge of honor in this agency, for example, the people can say, well, yeah, but is that, do I think that we really deserve that in this organization? Because I think there's a bit of a chasm between policy in lots of companies versus the experience of people on the ground. And by the way, I think that's the same in my business. I think it's the same across the board. I think it's no one's perfect. And whilst most leaders have a very positive intent around this space, the experience that different groups of people within their businesses will that might be different from what they're trying to achieve.
That's one of the key findings that arose from NABS All Ears
Mm.
research, our community consultation, which we released at the end of 2023, that there is a widening gap between policy and what's actually happening. So it's all very well having a policy protecting people with these issues and helping people with those issues. But if they're not being activated, then what you've done is you've set people's expectations, then you're not delivering, then actually their experience is worse because they
I
were
think that's
expecting
really
help and they're not getting it.
it's very true. And by the way, I've launched initiatives that have been a total flop. Honestly, thought I've launched something really good, but I don't know. They just there's very the truth is there's very few things that have been scientifically evidence-based proven to be successful. But the one most important, I would say, that has, and in all of this is the most important thing, is around preventing toxic workplace culture, because the toxic workplace culture is the biggest determinant of negative well-being in the workplace. And the things that you can do to not, it's not that difficult to sort that out. And it's around the main thing is around transparency. So transparency of leadership. So understanding how people are feeling and talking to people on a regular basis, and then playing back to people what you've learned from what they've said to you and what you're doing, what you're going to do about it, and not making undeliverable promises, but actually just being really open and honest about what you're learning, what you're trying to do, and have that kind of openness of sharing is a really positive, can have a really, disproportionately positive impact on people's experience at work.
So I'm really interested in your definition of a toxic workplace and also whether you have experienced that for yourself and the effect that it had on you.
Yeah, I mean, I think I've worked in places where we felt that we've have a really good culture, but actually the leader might be a bit, quite sort of aggressive in the way that they talk to people. And that creates a bit of toxicity because it means people can't be really honest about what they think. Um, so I've experienced that in many places that I've worked, if I'm really honest with you. So I think the toxicity. So that's one thing. I think the other thing is sort of the point I was making earlier about if you've got a bad egg, um, that can really negatively impact everything. So you need, particularly around leadership positions, you need good people, and then another area where you can do a lot to avoid having toxic workplace culture is to actually make um, managers, because I think we promote managers at a very young age in our industry,
Yeah.
um, and we often don't train them. And actually, management training is not necessarily a technical thing. It's about how you listen to people and how you um, communicate with people and how you treat people. Really, that's what and how clear you are about your expectations of people, and then how true and honest you are, I suppose, and how consistent you are in the way you do things. So, I think mental health training is a big part of that as well. So I think all those sorts of getting that sort of stuff right has a big impact on positive culture in businesses.
Yeah, I mean, you're saying a lot of the things that echo NAB's approach to management. And as a result of all this and what we found out then, we have got our inclusive leader training where people can come and learn to be managers who foster open, empathetic spaces where they can hold space for people if they want to discuss their mental wellness, where people can come and be themselves in a safe environment. And we're going to be developing more of those kind of courses as well, because it's all very well learning the technical bits like how to give an appraisal. But actually, what you want to do is promote a workplace in which people feel safe and they can thrive.
You also in NABS have very good resilience training.
We do.
I mean, if I think NABS has got, if I'm honest, I would say has got the majority of the resources that any business needs to do well in this space. Actually, um, like I really admire the work. I'm not just saying this because I'm on the NABS podcast, but like I really admire so much of the work that happens in NABS. And so we've got, as part of the whole mental, the thing I was talking about with the IPA, we've got this thing called the Wellbeing Lab, where where anyone can access for free all the best kind of resources under Empower, Support, and Prevent
Yeah.
to use themselves as individuals or to use in their companies. And NABS features quite heavily in there because of all the different amazing training you have in the charity. So I'm a big believer in NABS, and I think it's such an important resource for our industry.
I am so pleased to hear that. Thank you so much. And we will pop all the links that you need to find out more about how we can help with our free training courses in the show notes, as well as a link to the People First Promise that you can find out more about that. So, what happens if you're working somewhere and they've said they've signed up to the People First Promise, but you don't think that's playing out properly? What's a good way to approach that to try and turn things around?
Well, I mean, I think it's a really good question, by the way. I think it's an excellent question. It depends on the company. Companies are structured in different ways, and different shapes and sizes. But I always say, if you don't feel you're experiencing what you should be, you need to tell your manager that. And if you don't feel like you can talk to your manager about it, you should be talking to your HR department. Most agencies and media owners, I would say, have HR departments these days. Taking it beyond that, I mean, some agencies are much more open than others, but I'd say so. If you can go to, I mean, I remember when I was a graduate in an agency 26 years ago, I was fortunate enough to be able to, if I felt something strongly, I was able to talk to the CEO about it. Some agencies you can, some agencies you can't. But I don't think it's something that people should be going to the IPA. I'm not sure it's like right, go to the IPA and complain about your agency necessarily. I'd say it's probably something that you need to be taking up internally.
And on a positive slant, I guess if you're looking for a new job and you want to go somewhere where mental wellness is taken more seriously, could you look at the People First website? Does it have a list of all of the companies that have
It
signed
will
up?
do. It will do. Yeah, it hasn't at the moment, but there's a press release going out soon, and it will do. And yeah, I mean, I think it's part of the purpose of it is I think it should be a great thing for attracting talent into businesses, as well as attracting clients, because I think clients are increasingly taking this stuff seriously as well.
As well, they should be. Now, how does the advertising and marketing community lift you up?
I mean, it's really the people. Like I buzz off that. We're all different, aren't we? Some people love working on their own and doing their own stuff and writing. I totally thrive when I'm surrounded by people and working, problem solving with people. And I think that's I rise through working with amazing people. I'm surrounded by just the most incredible people, much brighter people than me every day. And so I thrive with that. I also think we do great work. And I think that, as an industry, we're the best in the world still. And so I feel very proud of that, to be part of an industry that does such fantastic work, and that lifts me definitely. Yeah, so I feel incredibly lucky and privileged to have been working in this industry for 26 years.
It's a long old time, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I realized when it came out of my mouth, that's how it sounded. I wasn't saying, oh, aren't you old? But you must have seen attitudes to mental wellness transform in all of that time. Back
Yeah,
in the day, it was just like, get on with it, work till midnight. At the earliest, we don't care how you feel about it.
yeah, it was definitely a different time. You accepted that but I mean, it's funny. Like, what I want to be really clear about is, you've got to work hard. Like,
For
if you want
sure.
to do well in this business, you've got to work bloody hard. Like, and that's right. Like, it should be in any business. It's good for you to work hard. I genuinely think it's good for your health to work hard. I really do.
You
Like,
need a
so
purpose, you need stimulation.
yeah, and if you want to get to the top, like, you've got to work harder than the next person. Like, that's just a fact. That's not. that doesn't go away. With the whole conversation around mental wellness and mental health, what I can't stand is when people conflate, a really stressful stuff going on at work with mental health issues. They're two different things. Yeah, and I, that I think is really important, because the mental health is a very, very, very important thing that we really need to take note of. But I think stress related to work is a reality that we all have to deal with stress, and what we don't want it to become is like real anxiety and actually lead to real mental health issues, which it can. But equally, I think we need to recognize that, you know, with work comes stress and we have to work hard. But what we shouldn't be doing is expecting people to work every hour in the day and through all the weekends. And also, when people are working hard, they need to be treated with respect, and we should be kind to each other, and we should, and that we should have environments where we like being, like we want to be spending our time. So it's not such a tough thing when we are having to work hard, because we're amongst people that we like working with, and we're in environments where we feel we can be ourselves. And I think that has changed quite a lot from when I was growing up in the industry, where it was much more work hard, play hard. You had to be a certain type of person really to succeed, I think, if I'm honest. I'm really pleased that that's not the world that we're in now.
That notion of play hard has really changed, hasn't it, in particular? Partly in a bid to make the industry more diverse. It doesn't suit everyone to go out drinking until 4 a.m. It's just not possible.
No, I haven't drunk for 6 months. I'm not, and so it's important, but I need to be at stuff. Like, I need to be socializing. I need to be networking. That's a big part of my job is, the social side of it. So that's okay now. Like, I'm lucky because I can be out at dinners and people don't go, "Why aren't you drinking?" It's more normal. But I think I do think a part of our business, there is still, look, drinking is definitely still a part of the social aspects of our business. But I think it's really important that it's not the only part of it, and that we're finding other things to do that are inclusive for everybody, that people can have a good time with each other, and it's not centered around booze.
Yeah, completely agree with that. As a mum, there's absolutely no way I can have hangovers.
Yeah, there's no way me neither.
So, look, you're a grafter, you've got a load going on. What's the best lesson you've learned about how to support yourself through everything that you're doing and everything that you've done?
I think try and maintain perspective. I think nothing I do is particularly important, really, in the grand scheme of things. Just doing a job. And what's really important is, the people you love, and, the positive impact that you can have on the world, really, I suppose, day to day and day out. So I try and maintain perspective, and not, try not to do what I do in the middle of the night, which is overthink.
Well, I hope that Arsenal continue to give you, if not constant joy, then at least no extra aggravation. I hope that your dog gets well soon, and I hope that you have some peaceful night's sleep ahead of you. It's been an absolute pleasure to talk to you. As I mentioned before, we've discussed a lot of resources today, so we'll put the links to those all in the show notes as well, so you can go and find out more. Josh, thank you so much. Have an amazing day.